The approach of the mind versus the approach of the intuition. We wanted to go forth, and we wanted to go forth in an orderly manner, so that we did not have the feeling that we'd missed anything. The mother felt that we could be orderly and thorough, and yet be guided by our feelings. She felt called from deep in space, and remembering her own terror, wanted to go first to the manifestations that indicated they were in need of help. Heart, body, and I felt that we had to go forth in an orderly progression, a little at a time, starting with what was closest to us, so we would not be able to keep track of everything. The mother felt that we did not have that kind of time in case something out there was in danger of going back on itself. Heart felt that it was not right to hold back if something needed us, but that it was also not right to go forth guided totally by feelings. He said that the mother was remembering her own experience, and that she should not project that onto what was happening now. He said these manifestations had birthed forth on our love, which was not the same as the mother's experience of being pushed out before there was even realization that it had been done. Mother Heart said, "You were pushed out by instinct, by impulsive response, before consciousness was aware enough to love. You had a loneliness that these stars don't have because we were not present with you. These stars have everything they need because love is present with them." The mother looked out into space and saw that Heart was not wrong, but she did not feel that he was totally right either. She kept feeling that there was something out there calling to her, something that was not happy with its plight. The mother wanted to go to make us go forth and find out if there was any problems or not. But she feared it was not right to try and prevail when she felt the three of us against her. Heart was making her feel judged against, as though she were only projecting an old experience onto a new one. She felt that Heart was telling her she was being overprotective as a mother and worrying herself unduly. Voices echoed within her, saying she didn't want to allow anything to go forth. She wanted to keep everything right near her so she could watch over it and protect it, control it, some murmuring said. The mother began to feel unsure that there really was anything calling her from out in space. She no longer felt sure where the weeping and cries of terror were coming from, and she wept herself. Her tears fell in streams that gave birth to the Milky Way. The mother feared it was not right to try to prevail over us in case her fears were wrong, but she could not keep still on the subject without holding back feelings in herself. She stared and stared into space, but could not see anything falling in darkness and did not seem to like it. Maybe the fear is all in me, she thought. Maybe I'm the only one that is afraid of it. She dried her eyes and tried to smile, but her face had fear and uncertainty in it. Heart proposed a compromise that did not sound like a bad idea. He suggested that we visit all the planets and stars in an orderly progression, but in any given area where we already were, we would go first to the ones that indicated they needed us first. The desire to go forth without compromise went into the lost will, because we believed at that time that compromise was necessary to be able to act as a group. We had dismal pictures of how it would go if we did not compromise, and all of them had been acted out by lost will. For example, all four of us had pictures of the fear that the mother might be trying to use emotion to manipulate us. The mother especially feared that she could not express herself freely if it was going to make us feel manipulated. Her feelings of needing to be free with her emotions gave her lost will pictures of the three of us as cold, arbitrary, and unresponsive to needs, and given to lecturing about things which we had not experienced. She felt overridden, as though she had to give in to us or she would not be at any light at all. We gave lost will the feelings that the mother always wanted us to give in more, no matter how much we gave in to her. The mother received these pictures from us and felt guilt that we might be right. The guilt increased the problem she already had. There were other pictures that also flashed between us, but I will not go into them now, because they will be given in other parts of the story. All these pictures went through us so fast that we hardly realized they were there. The glimmers we did recognize gave us feelings we did not want to feel about ourselves and one another. We hoped that by avoiding these pictures, we would not have to live them. We did not want these pictures to dominate us, and we did not know how to get rid of them except by looking away and focusing into the pictures that we did like. Going forth was self-doubt. At that time, we focused on going forth to visit all that had manifest outward from us. We had fun in mind and did not want more hassling between us. Going forth was not as easy as it sounds now to someone that has moved from one place to another. We had not done it, and we did not know how. We had rolled around together in a big ball, and we had felt as though we were moving, but we had not, up until now, had any point of reference for movement, or any place that existed that could be considered a destination. We did not express our fear that maybe we could not do this. We didn't want to look like fools in front of the Ancient Ones, who would have been happy to tell us that we were not successful. Instead, we got together in a ball and rolled around because this had been our earlier manner of moving. We felt that love-making was a good beginning anyway. We celebrated having manifested anything at all. We celebrated having more companion spirits. Even if we had a rough beginning with these new spirits, we also loved them and were thrilled to have their company. The Ancient Ones had begun to play while we were looking out into space, and it gave us a lot of joy to watch them. They had emerged to play and had games already. They began imitating us, and we had to laugh at ourselves. They wanted to go with us when we went forth, but we did not allow them to. They did not want to feel that we were holding them back, but they allowed us to because they really had more desire to play than to go out and look at what we had already created. The Ancient One's mockery of the mother worldly looking out into space had made her laugh, but she was also afraid she was just being foolish, and she felt guilty that she was even pushing us to go at all. We all felt it was right to go forth, even if the Ancient Ones were making fun of us, and so we did not allow their reflection to hold us back. We had feelings we did not know we had that we were giving the Ancient Ones the power to make us question ourselves. We had no desire to give in to their point of view, but we were also having a hard time ridding ourselves of the uncertainty that had arisen in us around their emergence. Lost will has the feeling we did not move then in the form of people who need the agreement of those around them that feel they are right. Now it was time to go forth if we were going to, and if we did not go soon, we were going to have to admit that we did not know how. We had the desire to go to other planets, and we did not know how to get there. Our first attempts to move toward a specific place did not amount to much and made us wonder if we ever moved at all, or if our sensations of movement had only been a rolling in place. The Ancient Ones did not appear to notice our difficulties at first. They were busy playing games that have movements in them. They were having contests and races to see who could move the fastest in the most different ways. Watching them made us feel that they had noticed our difficulties, and that they were trying to show us that they knew how to move better than we did. The mother did not like to have to try everything with the Ancient Ones watching us. She said she didn't want to look at them making fun of us if it made her feel like they thought we weren't good enough to do the job. It feels like they're just waiting to grab our job away from us, she said. As I watched the Ancient Ones playing, I realized that we were held back by a feeling we had that there was no place to go. Everything was us and was moving with us. The Ancient Ones could move freely about within us, but we had the problem of only being able to move towards something if we reached for it with a part of ourselves. I realized that a part of us could go forth and that the rest of us must stay at home. If we went in totality, everything would move with us and we would never get there. We had form now, and our form had various parts. We made up an entity of all the essence that wanted to go forth from each of us. This entity had the same form that we had: light, magnetism, balance, and movement. This entity had very much of the look that people have pictured as God, because in one form or another, this entity is what people have seen when they have seen God. What went forth from us did not have as much essence as I thought it would have, but what there was very exuberant in its desire to embark on this adventure. The emergence of the great archangels. We had a great explosion of light in response to the excitement. The mother was very embarrassed about having an orgasm over the realization that we were really going to go forth, but she had it because she gave in to me. I had filled her with my own excitement about getting to create at last. When I filled her with light, her response was always orgasmic. She was immediately relieved of her embarrassment by the shock of finding that she had emerged more spirits. These spirits had great speed and light. Each one was slightly different than the other, but nonetheless they were an order of spirits that I came to call the great archangels. The archangels were less in number than the Ancient Ones, 12 originally, but they were greater in power and light. Each one had a mission in creation in relation to the specialty each one felt himself to have. These spirits did not feel threatening to us, and they had a great joy of having finally emerged. We had a celebration party that included all the Ancient Ones. Entertainment at this party included each archangel giving us a display of his particular skills and talents. The appearance of Lucifer. It seemed perfect to us that they had emerged just as we were going forth. We felt like they could help us. We had some guilt about it, but we gave them permission to come with us if they wanted to, even though we still did not want the Ancient Ones to come along. We had just settled into our mode of travel, which was flying in groups of 4, when we were all startled to see an incredibly bright light coming toward us from out in space. We had a mixed response of joy that there was someone out there who had found us now, and fear that this light might be bigger and brighter than us and take our position away from us. We turned toward him as he flew toward us. He grew bigger and bigger until he loomed over us. Lucifer is by the name of which he came to be known, but then he was only a light in the heavens of the greatest brilliance we had ever seen. He was so brilliant that it was painful to look at him, but we denied this pain. He introduced himself as another archangel who had gone to take a look around before coming to join us. We did not feel that he fit in with the rest, but we did not feel we should say that, and we did not see where else he fit in either. The mother suggested to me that he might be an ancient one that had been out looking around longer than he thought. She said this because she liked Lucifer even less than she liked them. I didn't think so because he was not like the ancient ones in form. His brilliance was overwhelming to me, and I wondered where he could have come from and who he was. He did not feel loving, but I gave him access to us anyhow, because I was reluctant to judge him so quickly. I was beset with a secret horror that my desire to create was already not working out the way I wanted it to. I wanted to be able to love what manifested from me. I was not alone in my feelings. The mother hated him already, and he hated her. We did not realize then what was happening to us, but we allowed guilt to make us pretend to like him, when we should not have even allowed him to hang around. He, in turn, pretended to like us because he felt he could not have power over anyone if there was no one else around, and he wanted to be God in my place. Hatred was manifested then. When Lucifer finished studying us, he moved to the place he claimed was his point of emergence. It was at the head of the order of the great archangels. He challenged us to go forth and leave him to be God while we were gone. I had grave reservations about this at the time, which I ignored in favor of giving him a chance. I told myself that I was also leaving enough of myself behind, that he would be no problem. The emergence of the lesser archangels. We moved out now, and the joy of it was overpowering. We played in the ethers like children romping in a fountain. There was no time to worry about what Lucifer was going to do. If anything, we felt late in response to the mother's desire. She flew slightly ahead in her urgency, and her magnetism drew us on. We held her back a little bit and made her have some fun with us, which was not hard to do once we got her involved. Guilt did not allow the mother to get angry at me, but she had feelings of anger because I would not focus on going to find out if what we had manifested was happy out there or not. She said only, "The planets and stars are out there, and we have not even gone past the first ring of light." Her voice sounded guilty, but I did not want to know why. The mother had an intense feeling she could not calm, that all was right out in space. But she also feared it was wrong to pressure us about her feelings. At the time, she did not know how to balance the situation. She tried to deny her feelings of urgency in favor of our desire to have an orderly, pleasant, and calm time, but her undercurrent of urgency bled through nonetheless. As we approached what we saw as the edge of a ring of light around us, we felt another orgasm growing within us. We were enjoying a feeling of light fluttering past us. We were feeling held for a moment and then let go. It gave us a feeling of almost bouncing along. We began to laugh and exaggerate the movement ourselves. We had a great explosion of light and laughter. We had a feeling that more spirits might have emerged, as we had felt a great fluttering go through us as we gave in to the orgasmic feelings. The new spirits were all flitting around nearby in the ball of light in which they had been born. They appeared more like a sunburst than like spirits at first. As we looked more closely, we could see that they had forms that were more interesting to us than undefined light. They had faces that were merry and bright, and they were looking out at us with great delight. They also had great eyes as dark as night that opened to take in the light. They had long, golden streaming hair and green hearts that gave out a bright light. There were many more of these spirits than of the orders that had come before. They had great glee in their numbers and did not want to fight. They were like merry children who had a desire to come forth when they saw us romping. They wanted to get out of their bubble, but they needed some help. We pulled their bubble back as though we were opening curtains on a stage. The spirits appeared in the middle and emerged one by one. We gave them names as they introduced themselves. This was the first order we had named individually, and we felt we were going to have to go back and name the others when we returned from our journey outward. We had named ourselves, but names had not yet occurred to us for others until now. We were getting more definition as we went along. The mother was very pleased with those new spirits and an immediate love for them. She also feared that it was not right that they appeared to have no partners. She did not like it that we had only male children, and she wanted to know why none of the spirits were taking after her. She did not want every spirit that manifested to be her mate. She felt annoyed, but did not want to be more complaining again, so she only questioned me about her concerns. I felt that the manifestations were all right, but I could not tell her why. She said she did not think she was loved by any of the children, or they would have taken more after her. I wanted to celebrate the emergence of these new spirits rather than have them feel that we did not think they did it right. They had something to offer, no question about it. They had merriment, playfulness, and they also had some power. These new spirits filled the space around us and gave birth to dancing in a circle. They whirled and danced in a way that increased their light. The Father of Manifestation made sounds that he called music now. These sounds were similar to the sounds we had heard when he emerged. But these sounds had patterns and progressions that repeated and took forms as songs. The mother said that she had songs and gave her own version of the sound. She felt within her a response to these new spirits and everything that was happening. I also had a feeling for song and did not hold myself back. In reality, we had our first chorus in the heavens. Everyone joined in, including the great archangels, and our sounds became more musical than what we had experienced in the past. One of the great archangels had the power to focus sound, and he showed the mother a way in which she could send light out into the universe on a focus of sound and gave a presence of mother love to anything that needed it without having to go there herself. Immediately the mother's heart filled with love for the help she could give now. She began to sing forth now without holding herself back, and her light and love streamed forth toward all the planets and stars in space. She had a feeling of great joy that she could send love to everything and leave nothing alone or without it. I also had great joy that the mother found she had some power now. I wanted her to believe in herself. She had not listened to me earlier when I had told her that she had powers she did not know she had. The feelings of powerlessness that she had gotten from her first experience with me persisted with her in spite of all my efforts to help her understand herself. Seeing another spirit demonstrate a power that she could feel within herself had given her the courage to try. The mother had faith in this archangel, and felt that he was loving and a good intent. She believed him when he told her that his power was her power also. I felt content now that we would progress as I had planned, and that Mother could now accept us without feeling that what we had already manifested outward into space was getting ignored. We gave this new order of spirits the name of lesser archangels, because they were so similar to the great archangels, except that they were smaller in size and greater in number. They seemed to be self-sufficient already and strong in their relationship as a group. We did not feel there was any problem in leaving them and continuing. Our journey continued. As we were preparing to leave, the mother told me that she still felt there were some problems, that these spirits did not have mates. She felt that without mates they had no way to make light on their own. It was her feeling, and if we did not return to these spirits when they needed to receive light from us, they would not be able to remain manifested. The mother felt that the spirits we had manifested so far were going to run down if we were not around to give them light. I told her it was not going to be a problem for long because we were going to go forth and come back. The mother had a feeling of being overwhelmed by the image of having to make light for all the spirits and to give it to them continuously. "What if I'm just not in the mood?" she asked. The mother wanted the spirits to have a way to make their own light, so that she did not have to feel that our position was to continuously take care of them. I told her that we had a long way to go before that could happen, and that for now she was going to have to accept that the role of the mother was to nurture the children. "Look at these spirits," I told her. "They are not ready to have a relationship such as ours. They are like children. They are playing. Imitating us does not mean that they have understood what they are trying to do, and it does not mean that they are ready to do it." The mother could see that these spirits all had masculine form, but that indeed there was a sexlessness to them. She had been unable to give them will essence because they had rejected it. She did not know why they had rejected her. She felt guilty that she had just assumed they did not love her, because they had obviously accepted her as their mother. She tried to accept my counsel here, and what she could not lay to rest in herself went into the lost will. Before we left, we told these spirits that we did not want to pressure them to try to be anything other than what they felt comfortable being, but that perhaps as they grew in their experiences, they might find that they wanted to have more will presence, and if they did, they should come to the mother and ask her to give it to them. The guilt and fear these spirits had felt in response to our discussion moved back now, and their glee returned. The emergence of the first order of angels. We felt that we could not stay any longer. We felt a great pressure to expand and to open the space to do it. We had been relatively still for a while, and we felt it would be very pleasant to move again. We moved out into the space just around us and began to float there as though drifting in gentle breezes. We felt showered by a soft, loving light. It was an exquisite shimmering that made us feel like arcing backwards and lifting our hearts into it, receiving this light. We orgasmed into the heart, and another order of spirits emerged. These spirits were obviously heart spirits. These spirits were similar to the archangels in that they had faces, hearts, wings, and forms of shimmering light that were not very defined, but they were very similar in size in the previous orders. These spirits had more will presence than the earlier ones because they had the balance of heart himself. They were not intimidating because they had heart feelings of softness. These spirits had feelings of arms and that could stretch forth and give love. Trailing streamers of light come forth from all parts of their bodies. They shimmered in all colors, but definitely emanated greens and pinks like the heart. We decided to call them heart angels, although later they were often called the first order of angels. These angels were glittering and shimmering with the light of love, and we could not help but fall in love with them because they were love personified. Heart was very pleased. He had a bunch of little spirits to help keep him company now, and they were already playing around him. Later, many of the angels were going to come to feel that they were not man enough compared to the other spirits they saw come forth. But at the time of their emergence, they had great self-acceptance, and they had to regain it now. There is nothing wrong with having angelic origins, and the shame over men having softness needs to move out now. It is the shame that gives this softness its unpleasantness, not the softness itself. Hart had an idea of how we could celebrate this emergence. He felt that loving presence of a balanced heart was essential to anything that we did, and he suggested a party, inviting everyone who had emerged so far, so that they could feel this loving presence and gave their response to it. The heart angels had a pattern to their emergence. They had emerged in partnership, which were all interconnected in such a way that they felt themselves to be individuals, but all one heart. They had begun to see the beauty of the visions in my heart and had emerged to help manifest them. They had an ability to project these visions rather like showing movies, and they began to show us how lovingly they envisioned the creation could come into being. We felt we had found the most balanced method of going forth now in Heart's vision of how it could be. These angels had guardian spirits manifest in their order already, and these spirits felt attuned with parenting roles. The guardian angels felt guilty immediately, as though their calling indicated a breach of faith in our perfection by indicating we needed help parenting the spirits. The mother felt that they should not have this guilt. She still felt that Heart was not allowing enough room for the evolution she felt was going to be necessary in the manifested spirits. The mother did not believe that help in parenting necessarily indicated shortcomings in the spirits receiving this, and she was relieved that some spirits had emerged to help her do the job. I felt the mother's emphasis on parenting had an undercurrent of lack of trust for manifesting creation according to the vision Heart and I had. I gave her a nod that let her know I did not appreciate her undercurrent, that I was not doing a job right. The mother decided to try to wait for more appropriate time to express her feeling. Heart felt at the mother at that moment and received understanding that she was not wrong, but he did not accord her viewpoint in its full validity then, because he did not like feeling what she felt here. Heart wanted to hold the vision on the path he saw to be the most loving, and therefore the path that looked easiest and most appealing to him. The mother wanted this path also, no question about it, and she felt very guilty that she could not make herself feel that this was what was going to happen. All the way along, the mother tried everything she knew to try, including denying her true feelings and pressuring herself to focus on the positive, in an effort to manifest the path of her heart's first choice. At that time, I shared Heart's feeling that it might be the mother's lack of ability to align with us that was undermining the unfolding of our vision. Try as she did, the mother was not able to make herself feel that the easiest path was going to be the path taken. I am sorry to have to say to you now that heart, body, and eye all joined together and blamed the mother for everything that did not manifest exactly according to the way we had envisioned. You also need to know that almost every single spirit in creation joined us in this viewpoint. This story is now in the beginning stages of the blame and denial that the will has received. You need to see how this develops to understand why lost will is now so massive that it threatens the very ability of the creation to go on. At that time, we did not know everything that we needed to know to help us manifest what we were looking for. If we had opened to what the will had to teach us then, the will would have been able to align with us. You are going to have to go through everything to really understand, in your will, that it also is not possible to have a better alignment here than we had. We did not, at the time, understand the mother, or the mother's process. The mother needed more help from us to help her move the feelings that kept magnetizing her to the worst possibilities that lay within us. At that time, though, we had avoidance in mind because we did not know another way to get away from these troublesome possibilities. This was not right, but it was not wrong either. Do not take in this information in the form of judgments if you can avoid it. Lost will is already holding judgments here that need to be healed now. The avoidance here took the form of wanting to go on with the party, without having to feel the dampening effect of the feelings that the mother was holding. We asked her to put her feelings aside in favor of ours. We felt some guilt here, but we also did not like the feeling that we might have to put our desire for joy aside in favor of what then appeared to be her continual unhappiness with one thing or another. She was already appearing to me in parts of herself as a continual nag who could not be made happy no matter what I did. Lost will received this and everything else that was not given acceptance here, including the mother's fear that she really was at fault. All the spirits that had emerged so far had the ability to move around in the space that we had opened for them, and so they began to assemble themselves for a celebration. They were all very interested in getting to know one another, and there was a social buzz in the air that lent an atmosphere of excitement. It was our first great gathering. The Ancient Ones had games to show the others, and the Heart Angels had begun to project their visions in a manner that could now perhaps be roughly approximated by a multimedia presentation. We were also naming the older spirits now and having a little ceremony to accompany the naming, sort of like a christening might be thought of now. Lucifer located himself to one side. The mother felt that his laughter was a smirking rather than a joining in the merriment of the others. She hated him for smirking, but did not know if hating him was right or not. She had guilt about her own lack of acceptance for everything. Perhaps Lucifer was only more honest about it than she was. She did not know that the judgments she held against herself for feeling at odds with me were being reflected to her by Lucifer. She feared being like him because he felt cold, critical, and unloving. As soon as Lucifer noticed her having these thoughts, he told her that she was not right to feel about him as she did, because he was just there to let her know that it was her own inability to accept reality that made her fear it. The mother feared that Lucifer was right, that she had not opened to experience, and that she had judged it in advance of experiencing it. The mother had a confusion here that has gone on for so long. It is not easy to straighten it out now. There's a great difference between judging against something without opening to find out what it is, and opening to receive something and then allowing yourself to know that it is not for you. You also need to understand that the length of time spent in the presence of something does not necessarily determine openness to it or understanding of it. It is highly possible to know something the instant you focus on it, and it is also possible to live in the presence of something and never know it. You must feel something to know what it is, and this is the most important lesson the will has to teach even now. The mother was not understood in the beginning, because we did not understand how to clear the original conditioning the mother received. We did not clearly understand what effect this conditioning was having on the present. I knew that the mother was not allowing me to have the experiences I wanted to have, but I did not know why she was having this effect on me, and I did not understand why feelings from her past pursued her into the present. I had blame for her, but not understanding. Because of Will's original conditioning was not released, we did not get a chance to see how the creation could have gone if this conditioning had not been there. Because on the original denials the mother was not clear. When there is an old charge held in the will, you cannot see the present clearly. The mother had old feelings that did not allow her to know whether she was responding accurately to the situation or judging it before she allowed herself to know it. As time went on, we found out it was not even possible to know a situation for what it really is when old conditioning is present. Lucifer took advantage of the mother here because it was his intent to undermine the will. Lucifer told the mother that she could not know what the experience of the creation was going to be because she was judging everything in advance. He told her that her judgments gave her the experience she expected to have. The mother was very frightened and upset by what Lucifer told her, because it sounded right, but it felt terrible. The mother was so frightened about herself that she could not realize at that time that it felt terrible to receive this from Lucifer, because there was no love present in what Lucifer said. Since it was not known how to change the feelings the mother had, she felt that she could not gain acceptance unless she played the role that we all seemed to want her to play. She feared that she was wrong to have other feelings that seemed so displeasing to the rest of us, and she resolved to try very hard to be more positive about what was happening. The more she did this, the more denial went into Lost Will. The mother tried to act gay and not look at the picture she didn't like. She had fun in spite of herself, and even joined the Father of Manifestation in making music to go along with the visions we were having. The music seemed to lift the visions higher, and the visions in turn inspired the music until we were all feeling nearly orgasmic together. When there was a vision that we all particularly wanted to have happen, we had a great burst of light around us, and these visions then began to have a greater life within us than the others. It seemed as though the focus on the positive worked. We were innocent then, and did not know how it felt to be ignored by the light, until guilt began to point out later. We were having fun as innocently as an audience applauding in a movie theater. The mother watched the applause meter closely to see if her choices were going to be the choices of others. The mother's fear that she was alone in her choices seemed to be confirmed, as most of the visions that received the biggest response did not include the mother's presence. She then feared, even more than that she was not accepted or loved. She feared again that the only place in creation she would be given was outside of me. Nothing looked good to her. In that case, and in addition to her many other feelings, she had a rage over it that she was afraid to show. Lucifer liked it that the mother felt rejected, and he made use of it by telling her that she could never be sure she was loved if she had to ask for love. The undercurrent of his message carried to the mother was that it was inappropriate and self-defeating to express the feeling of hurt and rejection that she had felt. She already knew that Lucifer did not make her feel good, but now she was unsure as to whether her feelings toward him were a fault in her or unlovingness coming from him. It was very confusing to the mother that Lucifer seemed to make sense and even speak truth, and yet he made her feel so bad. The mother wanted the truth to feel good to her, and she feared that if Lucifer was speaking truth, she had preference for living a lie. She could not see another way then, given the understanding she had, and so she wanted to try even more not to feel the feelings that did not feel good. The mother then turned to me with her fear and confusion. She opened to receive me, hoping I would help her. I turned her down, saying that I was too involved in what was going on to make room right now for her fears and doubts. She knew that I felt like she was being a drag on my good time again, and even though I had sympathy for her, I did not want to have to deal with her right now. The spirits that felt what happened between myself and the mother right then took it to mean that they were more interesting to me than she was, because they had the visions that I wanted to see, and the mother did not. I actually did not have preference for one over another, but in their eyes I had acted as though I did. Ever since then, many of the heart angels have had an aggrandized image of the importance of their relationship with me. This misunderstanding got acted out later in the angelic experience in ways which you are later going to have to accept, even though it may be hard to understand at first. The emergence of the second order of angels. When I turned down the mother, she turned to the Father of Manifestation because he felt warm and good to her, and I was feeling cool and detached. He felt her pain and moved it as he found it, reassuring her all the while that she had to have a place in creation, or there would not be a creation. The mother felt that he was not wrong, but she could not shake the feeling that she was going to have to go through too much to prove it right. The Father of Manifestation held the mother of everything and tried to comfort her. Pretty soon they were making love. They felt guilty about not including all of us, but they could not hold themselves back. The mother did not allow any emergence, but having an orgasm could not be hidden. I saw it, and I had to flood them with love because the beauty of the light was so great. Everyone saw the light and had expectation of more emergences. They were not disappointed. Receiving my acceptance allowed the mother to give in, and the second order of angels appeared. These angels had more gold light than any of the others. At last, the mother thought, some spirits have taken after me. She felt joy at their emergence because she believed that these spirits would be able to understand her. These angels had well-defined hands and more body definition than the others had had. They were also winged and did not have feet. These spirits had some guilt that they had emerged in the middle of the heart's festivities, but they said that they could not hold back any more because there were so much wanted to see the visions manifest. I named their order Manifesting Angels and gave them a warm welcome. At first I thought that these angels could help the mother, but I soon realized that they had taken after the Father of Manifestation. The Father of Manifestation loved the mother, and so did these angels, but they did not like having to receive her pains or her complaints. Several of them came forward right away and told the mother that she should quit worrying because they were going to help with the manifestation and make sure that everything went all right. The manifesting angels had a desire to show us right away how they could help manifest things with their hands. They had greetings for all and made speeches that had certain visions as their focus. The first order of angels were able to project these visions, and the second order of angels were able to hold the visions steady and give them a vividness it didn't have before. The second order of angels had the power to give more form to the visions, and this gave the visions more of a feeling of life within themselves. The second order had a focus on detail that we had not had manifest before. This focus allowed more intricate patterns. The first order was bringing forward visions they selected for the vastness within my heart, and the second order was refining the details and giving the visions a feeling of living form. The second order of angels wanted to join the party we were already having rather than have a separate party of their own. The second order wanted to add their vividness to everything that was already happening. They began manifesting right there, and for the first time, we had instruments upon which to play music. The spirits that had already emerged had a desire to go to the second order and have them refine their forms. The filmy white of the spirits began to take on more definition. The tendencies to billowing, cloud-like forms, wispy, trailing streamers, and featheriness began to appear more clearly, as well as the qualities within those forms of bounce, resilience, soft openness, whirling power, wind, stir of breezes, and the rippling and rocking of light waters in the air. The ethers began to manifest smells associated with each form, and everything began to sparkle more intensely with the many colors that ethers held within. The beauty of our luminescence increased. I wept with joy and happiness at the beauty of it, and also with the fear that I was not good enough to be gone any more. Spirit had already begun to feel like a background presence that was ignored and taken for granted. The emergence of the third order of angels. The spirits did not seem to notice my state, so swept up were they in what they were doing. It was as though they were trying on costumes at a magnificent costume ball and dancing in and out of the multimedia visions of the heart. They were accompanied by the music of the heavens that drew its inspiration from both the celebration and the backdrop of stars sparkling in the vastness of the space around us. I found the mother near me immediately, holding me as I wept and making love to me. I filled her with all I felt at the time. I feared she might fairly burst with it, but her acceptance of me made me unable to hold back. Her left hand was holding my heart when I had another burst of light and the third order of angels came forth. They also had a desire to make sure that everything was all right, and came to me immediately to report that as far as they were concerned, I had nothing to fear. They told me that they knew that I was the source of all life, and that all any spirit could do was refine the inspiration that I had to give them. They said that they were sure that everything manifest was me allowing myself to express the vast complexities of my own being. We, they said, are only a part of you telling you what you need to hear now. The third order of angels were not desirous of running off after form. They were more interested in sitting with me and remaining as close to me as possible. These angels had a very highly developed inner sense of hearing, seeing, smelling, feeling love's presence, touching, feeling emotions of spirit, and sensing the perfect response to give. If the second order of angels were the outer, these angels were the inner. The third order of angels had a feeling for me because they understood that I was the inner, just as the Father of Manifestation was the outer. They told me that the Father of Manifestation was the source of power for the second order of angels. The emergence of the fourth order of angels. The mother now wanted to know where she fit in, and I had a desire to help her that I had not had earlier. I told her to give in to her response to everything around her, and allow emotion to give a depth and a magnitude to everything manifest. Feeling joy is the mother, I told her, but I also let her know that I had realized that fear and sadness are also the mother. She gave in then and allowed me to love her while she felt everything and gave her response. The mother came forth with a great song that moved all in the heavens except one. When the mother felt that one, and could not move him no matter what she tried, she felt hatred for herself and did not realize it was him that she felt. The mother, I then realized, had mirrored every spirit to himself, and if a spirit had no love, she mirrored that also. The third order of angels confirmed that I had felt the mother's worth and had given her an acceptance that she had not had before. My acceptance of her encouraged her to open to me in a way she had not opened before, and with a great cry of emotion gave me another orgasm. The light was brilliant golden white, and it gave birth to the fourth order of angels. The fourth order felt immediate guilt over the great passion that had excited them to come forth, but they had not felt the depth that could move them earlier. The fourth order of angels had great passion, compassion, and love. They had power of emotion similar to the mother, and felt that emotion could give movement to the forms that were manifesting, and could even propel them out into creation to find their right place. Manifested forms could now go forth and find their right place to fulfill what they had emerged to live. As much as I had felt the third order of angels to be the Father's angels, I now felt it the fourth order to be the Mother's angels. The mother finally had some children who took after her. Everything felt balanced now, and we felt that we really could celebrate life, creation, and everything that had happened so far. We had a feeling of what you might call being on top of the universe. We felt that we had completely touched the inner circle of light. A great step had been completed in our great journey to the stars. We all felt the rightness of the desire to go forth now, and felt not only fulfilled, but also uplifted and full of excitement for the great adventure we had undertaken. The plateau of rest and some understanding which hindsight gave me there. We had a feeling of needing to rest for a while, and of wanting to get to know the spirits that had already emerged. We had done a lot of creating and manifesting already, and we did not want to proceed until we felt sure we were doing it right. We knew that we had to allow essence the freedom to emerge as it wanted to, and when it wanted to, but we had questions about some of the emergences already. We already wondered how much guidance could be given to spirits without overriding the freedom they needed to define themselves. We felt that spirits that were manifested needed some help in parenting, and yet the mother had already experienced rejection when she told the spirits they needed will presence to stay manifested. We tried to reach the spirits by telling them stories about our long struggles to learn so many things that we could so easily show them now. Although we had fun telling these stories, we also found that many spirits rejected at least some of the understanding we gave them. Hart realized then that more experience than he had foreseen was going to be necessary before many teachings could be accepted as understanding. He had lost will then that could not open to receive the understanding we were trying to give. We did not understand then why this will could not open to receive us, but I have since learned that will must move in order to open and receive. The rejection the will was already receiving was creating the lost will, which was not moving because it was not being given the acceptance it needed to be able to move. The will must have acceptance before it can move. It cannot move and hope it will gain acceptance later. When the will holds back, it is not possible to evolve it. It does not matter what you tell it or how many times it has particular experience. It cannot learn anything new unless it is allowed to move all of the old feelings that it is holding. Old denials in the form of held feelings, and the judgments that make the feelings feel they have to hold back, can make you feel like future experiences will be pretty much the same as experiences you've had in the past. These feelings of projecting the past onto the future are not wrong. They happen because the will is holding old conditioning from the past. As long as the will is doing this, the will cannot help but project the past onto the present and into the future. Effective release from the old pattern involves effective release of the will's held emotions and the judgments that have made the will hold back. There is no real evolution unless release from old conditioning is gained effectively in this manner. Every other approach involves denial of one kind or another. When you have denial, reversals come sooner or later because the denial is part of you whether you like it or not. You need to understand that denial takes many forms. Some are very subtle and others not very subtle. No matter how much or how little you deny, the part of yourself you have denied will not allow you to go on for long without it. Most people have rationalized the reversals caused by lost will's attempts to gain recognition as the inevitable swings of the pendulum. Some people have anger that they cannot just get rid of lost will, and many of these people have tried to do just that by redoubling their efforts to deny it whenever lost will has tried to make its presence known. Others are afraid of lost will and do not want to allow themselves to feel what it is holding for fear they will have to experience it. These people, too, have tried to fight off any sign of emotions that is not aligned with the self as they want to see it. I would like to say something here about anger and fear. Anger and fear are not really separate. As long as they are expressed as though they are separate, they have not been expressed effectively enough to find the connecting link between them. Healing the imbalances here involves finding the connecting link between them. For example, if a person is expressing anger over and over and healing is not taking place, the failure to evolve indicates that the understandings needed are not being gained. In this case, the person most likely needs to notice what emotions are not being expressed. Repeated expressions of some emotions can indicate emotional habit patterns that may give the appearance of emotional release, but are actually participating in furthering the denials of other emotions. In the case of repeated anger, the denied emotions are likely to be fears. Grief can be present here also, and some people use grief to deny both anger and fear that lie guilt-ridden beneath the grief. Grief comes from a feeling of powerlessness which arises from the splits an individual is experiencing, such as a split between anger and fear. These splits can be within the individual or between individuals. In the beginning, we did not have the understanding on lost will. Then, we only knew that experience was going to be necessary, since without it, it did not appear that the spirits could understand the teachings we had to offer. We looked at the spirits' need for experience as an opportunity for them and also for us. We needed to have space from them just as much as they seemed to need room to experience without their parents standing over them. The spirits were going to have to experience things that we have already experienced in order to understand what we have been trying to teach them, and we were going to have to go on with the experience we needed to have. Even though we knew this was true, we also had plenty of things we enjoyed sharing with the manifested spirits. When we told the spirits how hard it had been for us to figure out how to manifest them, they had fun telling us what they had experienced from within us, knowing they had awareness of themselves and not knowing how to come forth. Lost will received the unexpressed fear we all had that the spirits could not find a way to manifest, and that we could not find the way to manifest them. In getting to know the spirits, we found that they all had understandings based on what interested them, and areas that did not interest them were often a blank. These early emergences had focused on certain aspects of us and gained their awareness in these areas. They all had a feeling of universality because they all had white light like I did, but they all had feelings that did not allow them to open to everything that I had to offer. The spirits were all given the opportunity to embrace more awareness than they had, but they all turned the opportunity down. All the spirits had emerged with aspects of me, but did not, at the time, demonstrate interest in utilizing their full potential to receive more. The time has come for understanding to not gain then to be gained now, because the necessary experience has been had. The reason that the experience gained has not brought the healing needed now is that the experience has not been understood. The reason the experience has not been understood is that the spirits who set out to have these experiences had the intent to prove to me that their misunderstandings were right and that what I had to offer them was wrong. These spirits originally denied that they had misunderstandings. Rebellion against me is the one karmic tie that all beings on earth have in common. It was not wrong to rebel against me, and it is not wrong to continue rebelling against me if you want to continue going it alone. If you do want my help now, these teachings are being made available to bring you the help that you need. Denial, as you know, created lost will, and all of these original spirits had denials. Much of the lost will of these spirits is on earth holding the original misunderstanding of these spirits. This lost will has lived repetitions of these misunderstandings until it has deep conditioning that it cannot change anything. This is not true, but the lost will has to realize that it is not true by moving all the old conditioning that says it is going to have to accept the misunderstandings it was given and go on with them. Lost will needs to know that it is right for it to now come forward with it and what it has to offer. Its true input is going to be very old information, but information that is needed now. All the spirits that emerged in the beginning of creation fragmented because they did not have enough will presence to hold themselves together. Not only that, these spirits had a lack of alignment within all the essence they emerged with, because some parts of them had understanding and agreements that other parts of them did not have. Not only that, there are many parts to the lost will. There is lost will which has fragmented into many beings, manifesting the many aspects of what it has taken in, and there is also lost will which is spirit polarized. This is spirit essence that is operated around the judgment patterns, whose core belief is that the will is not meant to be free, but is meant to serve the spirit, hold it present, and give it the response it wants to have. The only will essence this lost spirit has is essence that accepted these beliefs, and holds present the spirit essence that enforces these beliefs. These beings have little or no other will essence present with them, and so appear to be spirit polarized. These people actually are pieces of spirits that embrace misunderstandings that led them to their present situation on earth. These people are meant to vibrate as light and are not really meant to be the physical part of their manifestation. Body also has a large physical presence on earth that appears to be very spirit polarized due to misunderstanding about its role. I had to have many experiences and did these spirits to be able to understand why these spirits preferred to operate within the misunderstandings they held rather than release them to receive the true understandings that they needed, even when the misunderstandings gave them a problem living. These misunderstandings have been going on for so long that they are not going to be easy to reverse now, but it must be done. If you are having feelings that you had manifested presence as early as the spirits I have mentioned so far, you need to consider that you may be a piece of lost essence that belongs with these spirits. You are going to have to feel within yourself to know if you had presence then or not. You may find out by having an emotional or physical reaction to this material. You may respond by feeling pain you did not know you had, or even by getting sick. Feelings of nausea, aching, or symptoms as though you have a sudden flu would not be the wrong response here. You have to understand that lost will has been suffering for so long that it knows no other way to express itself once its pretense of being all right has been broken through. If you feel that you have a pretense of not needing or wanting help, you need to allow this to be broken down, if you really do want help, so that you can receive the help that you need. All the spirits that emerged have subsequently fragmented because they were unable to hold themselves together without the will presence which they rejected, denied, or lost. I have the parental parts of these spirits with me now, and they are still a great presence even without their missing parts. These spirits, however, must heal what has happened to them, just as I must heal what has happened to me. They have healed in spirit as I have, but they still have lost will on earth as I have that must heal now. If you have feelings that you might be a part of these great spirits, you need to open to the possibility that you may have true understanding here. These spirits want to contact their own lost will on earth and heal it now. Many times these spirits have tried to contact their missing parts. Hearing voices or seeing visions has, for the most part, drawn punishment to the lost will having these experiences. Guilt held in the lost will has drawn this punishment, and this guilt needs to move out now so the lost will can receive the understanding needed. In the past, guilt has not allowed lost will to realize why it was receiving such vision and voices, and lost will's mistrust for its own spirit has created the reflection of being misguided. Many times over, lost will has been punished whenever it tried to move and regain psychic receptivity. Having been denied from the beginning, lost will has not felt sure of its right place, and feared that it was wrong for even daring to think itself worthy of receiving such grand visitations. Lost will then drew to itself the punishment it feared it deserved, even if the conscious part of the person was very angry about receiving such punishment. This fear of unworthiness and guilt needs to be cleared, so that the spirit part of yourself can reach you with the teachings you need to bring about your own healing. If you cannot open to the possibility of what your true identity and origin may be, you can allow your true feelings to move or understand and accept them when they do. Having been lost for so long, you are holding judgments that you deeply believe to be reality, including the ones that say your higher self cannot be fully integrated with your lower self, and even the judgment that calls one aspect high and another low, relative to its worth. Many people hold a judgment that they cannot ever receive contact from their own higher self. In reality, this contact is just blocked out by fear and guilt that is not moving. You can move what you need to move to hear what you need to hear, and the more you move in response to what you hear, the more you will be able to hear. If you have the judgment that earthlings are not as divine or high in the origin as angels, you need to let this judgment go now also. There are even ancient ones on earth in fragmented form. You will understand more about how and why this fragmenting took place as you go on with this material. For now, it is enough to know that you may meet others who feel they are a part of the same spirit as you. You need to understand that this is not necessarily wrong. Guilt has not allowed most people to admit that they have a sense of identity that they don't feel that they can reveal, and I'm not suggesting that you need to reveal it publicly now. Those that have revealed these feelings have, so far, most often received reflections that have made it look very convincing that it is best not to mention these things, and probably best not to even entertain the thoughts. Guilt and judgments create the reflection that has been met on earth so far. You must open the space within yourself to know if these things could be true or not, and you must work with it there. In other words, I am not suggesting that you put on wings and run to the neighbors as the testimony to your newfound acceptance of yourself. You are not all angels anyway, but even if you were, it would not bring the results you might hope for. The lost will is not the part of you that is conscious vibration right now. The lost will is something that you have been holding, and it does not want to move unless true healing can be brought to it this time. I have given as much as I'm going to give you on this right now. You are going to have to go through a lot to know for sure if you have your origins among the Godhead spirits or not. You may have to go back farther than you ever remembered in your life to know if you have had consciousness that early or not. The reason for this is that many of the early realities of the manifested spirits were quite similar. The more you move within yourself and get to know what you are holding, the more information you will have to go on. Lost will holds everything that you need to know to go forward with your own healing now, but you do not get true information from your lost will unless you learn how to help lost will get the light it needs. Open yourself to receive contact from the part of your spirit that can help you, and you will not fail to get the help that you need. Healing lost will is not a matter of having these understandings just penetrate the part of you that is still vibrating. If that were the case, you would have been healed long ago. Not only do you need all the understanding I am giving you, you need to learn how to bring your lost will back into conscious awareness so that it can receive the understanding it needs also. The understanding is this: you cannot move old patterns without moving that which is holding them in place. These holding patterns are not conscious anymore. They have been called the great subconscious. It is now time to open to this and bring it forward to participate with your conscious awareness. I have many more stories to give now on how it happened that these parts of the will lost consciousness. If you had not found yourself yet, hold on. Great emergences are yet to come. There has long been a dispute as to whether older is better or not, wiser or more powerful or not, and the stories I'm going to give will also help you to understand this issue. I cannot bring forward all the understanding you may feel you want in the beginning here, because the understandings are too many, too vast, too multi-leveled, and too overwhelming. Understandings must be given as you are prepared to receive them, and therefore may not be given until much further on. This is also necessary in order for you to get triggered in the ways that you need to get triggered, and for the story to have the teaching's effect that it needs to have. Therefore, some things may appear at first to be understandings. Further information may then make them appear to be misunderstandings, and then even later they may fall into place into another way as fuller understandings. All of this process is necessary to be able to gain the profound levels of understanding you need if you really do have full healing in mind for yourself at this time. I'm going to tell you this story from my point of view, including the aspects of all four of my parts. I have to tell the story of the mother because she is my own will, and I feel her thoroughly now. You must allow yourself to feel, and thus to know what of this story you have lived. All spirits have lived a part of this, but none have lived all of it. The mother's story is a story of the will, and all wills find their experience within her will. The mother will has lived all of this, but even she could not hold herself together through everything that has happened. She herself has shattered a number of times from the pain of her experience. She is just now healing her fragmentation by bringing her lost essence back within herself, where it can receive light. Even if you have feelings that you may be a fragment of the mother, you will not have lived all of her experiences unless you are the parental part of her spirit, which you are not. Feeling your own lost will's vibration being restored to it is the only way you are going to know who you really are and what has really happened to you. I have found no other way. These parts of you are still trapped in whatever places they met their death and have received no further information since that time. Spirit has long since moved on past the misunderstanding held in the lost will, and for a long time, Spirit thought it only needed to shine the light of its evolving realizations on the will, and the will would receive them and evolve along with the Spirit. Experience has not shown this to be the case, and Spirit has long wondered why the will could not respond to this approach. The will has received a lot of blame and judgment for not being able to respond to this approach. This approach has, in fact, only widened the gap between the Spirit and the will. The reality of this gap can be seen on earth as so many people having highly developed conscious, while others on earth seem to be barely conscious at all. This is not a matter of how great and wise a particular spirit is in comparison to the rest. It is a problem of fragmentation and lost will. Essence that is not vibrating anymore cannot open to receive new understanding or new light. How then are these people even alive? Lost will, holding the most serious denials as only a little light left. These people are, therefore, barely alive and are dragging a heavy load of dead essence around in their bodies. These people are susceptible to everything that goes wrong on earth, and what still lives in them is wrapped up in the struggle to survive in the face of the constant death and threat of death that the load of lost will they carry is creating in their lives. For them, the creation does not appear to be either life-giving or abundant. What form their struggle takes is dependent upon the judgment patterns that they are holding. This lost will has so little life left that it is very important that it be healed now. From the number of people on earth who have a daily struggle to live or are living in poverty, you can see that there's a lot of this lost will. Not all lost will, however, is in such bad shape as this. There are many gradations to the lost will. Even the evolving spirit essence on earth experiences reversals that signals the presence of lost will within it. You also need to know that lost will, which you have thrown out and which is living separately from you, still has an effect on your life whether you understand why some things are happening to you or not. You need to understand also that seriously fragmented lost will is not left with enough essence to heal itself in the form it is in. This is part of the reason I have said not to pressure anyone around you to adapt your path. This essence has to come back to you in the spirits to whom it belongs. If you have a feeling that you can do healing on this path, you are not too fragmented to do it.